Welcome to the DMF. I'm your host, Justin Yance. This is episode 53. I'm going to talk about the new format for this show. I want to talk about books I'm reading. I'm going to talk about The Elephant Man. I'm going to talk about a little bit about The Boys. And I'm going to talk about what I think should happen in this political climate. And we'll end with a quote, so stay tuned. So I want to talk a little bit about the new format that I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about having a show on Saturday and a show on Sunday. Saturday will be the wrestling show, and Sunday will be just the regular DMF. And I'm thinking about doing special episodes, every now and then. Perhaps like when there's like the Royal Rumble, I'll do a special episode. If something like in the political climate happens again, I'll do a special episode on that. Interviews, different things like that, I think will warrant a new episode. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm not sure. I may make it Wednesday, but I'm trying to come up with dates so that you can be like, this is when you can expect a new episode. So I think I'm going to do Saturday and Sunday. And that's where I think I'm leaning toward. I want to talk a little bit about some of the books I'm reading right now. I'm reading Vishen Lakhiani's book called The Buddha and the Badass, which is an interesting book because it talks about... it's a continuation of The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, which is one of my favorite books. And The Buddha and the Badass really showcases where you can go as a team and how to build a company and how to grow even further from The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm also doing a course on books. As I said, I've been doing speed reading, and I found this course on this book, Breakthrough to Speed Reading, I believe is the name of the book. And it gives you a bunch of courses. So I have to spend like an hour and 20 minutes every day on speed reading. And I've got my speed up to like 910, but I want that to be like just normal. I want hard to be maybe 1,020 words per minute. And I think if I can get there, that will really hit the spot of where I want to be speed reading wise. So that's kind of where I'm seeing things going with the new format. I'm trying to come up with different ideas to make this work better. But the biggest hassle for me has been coming up with the day of when I'm going to release. Because sometimes I've just been kind of releasing here and there, but I know people want a definitive date. So far, I think I'm leaning towards Saturday and Sunday. I think that's where I'm going to lean towards. I'm not sure yet, though. And as for books I'm reading, that is a very interesting book, and I recommend reading it. And I'm also reading a bunch of other books because the speed reading course forces you to, you'll take out a paragraph, you'll read that paragraph, and then you'll write down as in few words as you can what that paragraph is about. So it's testing you on comprehension as well as speed, which I like. You'll set a timer for 5 minutes. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and I'm really enjoying it because it's showing me that it is possible to read faster. At first it kind of felt like a myth. Could I get to 9-10 words per minute? If you asked me a month ago, I would have said no. But now I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing it consistently. But I want that, but that's like really hard. It's still hard for me to comprehend, but I'm seeing I'm able to comprehend a lot more than what I thought. The course really pushes you to go as fast as you can, even if you're not really comprehending as much. One of my, It's not really my favorite, but it's the hardest. You'd read for 3 minutes, then you'd read again another 3 minutes, and where you stopped, you try to read a little bit further from that previous 3 minutes, and then you try and read that 3 minutes in 2 minutes, and then the real hard kicker is trying to read that amount of words that you read in 3 minutes, that amount of pages in 1 minute, and then you're going to read another minute after that to see how far you've come. But it's really interesting. I really recommend it. It has to be one of my favorite books that I've read, because it's really taken my my speed reading to another level, which I didn't think was possible. As I said, it's just, let me see. I want to get the very specific name so that you'll have it and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Ah, here it is. The Breakthrough Rapid Reading. Peter Klump. Really good. It'll teach you how to speed read. So that's all I have for these things. And when we come back, I'll talk about the film The Elephant Man. The Elephant Man. Directed by David Lynch. It stars Anthony Hopkins, John Hurt, Hannah Gordon, Anne Bancroft, John Gielgud, Wendy Hiller, and Freddie Jones. And the score is done by John Morris. Now, this is one of the David Lynch's more underrated films, because most people associate it more with like Mulholland Drive, Twin Peaks. To me, this is kind of in there with like Inland Empire. You have to kind of be more of a cinephile to know about this film. Now, this was produced by Mel Brooks' company, which is funny that Mel Brooks picked David Lynch to do this film. Now, this film was adapted from a screenplay. Well, the screenplay was adapted by Lynch and Christopher DeVore and Eric Bergen from Frederick Treves' The Elephant Man and Other Reminiscence, a 1923 book, and Ashley Montague's The Elephant Man, A Study in Human Dignity, 1971. Now, it was shot in black and white, and the makeup was done by Christopher Tucker. And the makeup is just a sight to be seen. I mean, I really like this film because it really shows how good a filmmaker David Lynch is. Now, at this time, I think he had done Dune, and he had done Eraserhead, and this showed just another, that he could do a period piece as well. And the use of shadow and all that, the black and white, it just flows. Now, it's funny because I waited a long time before I saw this film. This is actually the film that I watched when 2021 was rung in. I was like, I need a film to catapult me to the next year. And this was that film. Now, I had played John Merrick, the character of the Elephant Man, in multiple acting classes. I would like to play him on stage as well. But so I waited a while before I would watch this film. I kind of wanted to keep my own interpretation of it. Although I felt I needed to see this film. It was on the Criterion collection as the Criterion Channel. So it was on there, and I was like, I need to see this. It's beautifully done. It's beautifully shot. They've remastered it and made it just looks beautiful to watch. And so the film is about Frederick Treves. Anthony Hopkins discovers John Hurt's character, John Merrick. Now, John Merrick is a man who's being paraded as like this showcase, this freak that you have to see because you won't believe it. And, when Anthony Hopkins finally sees him at Frederick Treves, he is taken aback that somebody could be treated like this. And he has like tumors on his back, and he's completely hurt, and people are terrified of him, and he smells bad. But Frederick Treves sees the man in there and wants to, I think he wants to help him. Now, throughout the film, Frederick Treves goes through the idea is like, am I actually helping him, or am I just putting him on another stage for people to look at him? Because as the film goes along, they introduce him back into society. Now, John Merrick is an interesting character because he never becomes angry or upset. He's always this kind-hearted soul. He's like the child that you want to take care of. And he has there's no reason for him to be so kind, other than that he just is, because he's been treated so badly. Now I want to get into spoilers in a few minutes, but I want to talk a little bit. But I talked a little bit about the cinematography. I did not talk about the cinematography. Freddie Francis, who does the cinematography in it, the way he lit things, it just flows so well. I was really amazed at what a unique film this is. And the fact that more people don't know about it. It's not talked about in the same way as like some other period pieces. I don't feel it gets enough recognition. This is, I think, one of David Lynch's best films. John Hurt, who plays John Merrick, just a terrific performance. Anthony Hopkins, you can see the subtleties and things. Like, he had not played Hannibal Lecter yet. But he's such an amazing actor. And you got John Gielgud in there, who's, playing this, such great actors. And the music, John Morris does the music, and what he did, he combined it with that, that sound of almost a Ferris wheel going around, that jingling bell sound that you hear like of a Ferris wheel, and the circus is here, but it's so grounded, and I just love it. And he uses adagio for strings, and he uses it in such a unique way. I love the sound and the way he just. It's such a great film. I recommend seeing it if you want to see an interesting period piece. The Elephant Man by David Lynch. Now I'm going to get into spoilers in a minute, so I'll give you 10 seconds to click off. Okay, so spoilers. I love the way, one of my favorite scenes is when he's introducing the Elephant Man to his to the hospital to see what he looks like, and you've got all these doctors, and they're just amazed that this person exists because he's got tumors all over his back, and it's like John Merrick is such an interesting character. I mean, this is a guy who has to be propped up. He cannot sleep like lying down. He would die because his head is so large that it would cave in on him. And it's such the way he shoots the Elephant Man is so cool, because we never really see him, full on. It's very similar to like Alien, where we never really see the creature for the longest time. Now, this isn't a horror film. It's not meant to be scary. It's just kind of building intrigue. But then we see him on the bed, and he's got the mask, and the way the mask looks, it looks so lifelike. It's such a unique way. I mean, Christopher Tucker did such a good job of of designing this mask, because the mask looks so real. I mean, I was just amazed. And John Hurt, just your heart pours out for him. There's a point where he can't. They're saying you need to speak. You need to speak because John Gielgud is going to throw him out. It's like we're not a charity case. We only take on special situations. And he recites the Lord's Prayer, but he recites more of it than what Frederick Treves, this character, showed him. And he knows now that he can read and he can learn, because he thinks, at one point, he just thinks, the man is an idiot. He says, he's clearly an idiot. But, we come to find out he's actually really intelligent person. He's just been shunned and kept from society. Anne Bancroft plays a character who's an actress who loves him and sees the soul in him and sees the good in him. Freddie Jones, who plays like his keeper, is trying to bring him back. At one point, the person who's kind of the not really the warden, but the guy that's the hospital night guard. Yeah, I get the guard on duty, who's like selling him off and parading him around, and you're just disgusted. And then there's a point where Freddie Jones brings him back to his like circus, and they can't find him. And he's being treated so badly, but the circus patrons, or not patrons, the circus I don't know what else to say. The circus performers help him get back. And there's a point where he is, he's got his mask on and he's, running from everybody, and they're chasing him. They're chasing this monsters that like these kids are playing with him and throwing. And at one point he just yells at them in the bathroom. And he says, "I am not an animal. I am not an animal. I am a human being." And they all just kind of are taken back because they're like, oh, wow, it can talk. It's real. So, I mean, your heart just pours out for him. You just want John Merrick to succeed. And when he's at the theater and they applaud him, and he is just so happy to have seen the theater, and he's been introduced back into society. And then the very end, when you see him and he decides to take his life, and he's so thankful for Treves, but Treves can't really treat him like a person. He kind of hates himself for what he's done. I mean, there's a point where his wife sees him and he tells his wife, is like, did I do him good? I mean, or did I just, or am I just selling him like everybody else? Such interesting dynamics to play with. And then he decides to kill himself by going to sleep in the one way that he can't, because if he sleeps lying down, his head will cave in and kill him. And we assume that that's what happens. It ends there, but we assume that is the end of him. It's such a beautiful film. The music is perfect. I can't say enough great things about it. David Lynch, master filmmaker, even at an early age, and you can see it here. I mean, he hadn't even done Twin Peaks yet. He hadn't done one of my favorites of David Lynch, Inland Empire. But I recommend watching this film, The Elephant Man, 1980, when it comes out. Bradley Cooper's played this part on stage. I think he shares the same affinity for this character as I do. You can get, there's a beautiful Blu-ray of it done on from the Criterion Collection. I would recommend getting that if you want to see that, and hopefully it'll come back to the Criterion channel. But just a wonderful piece of art. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit about The Boys, an introduction, so to speak. Talk about The Boys. I just recently got a chance to see both season 1 and season 2 of The Boys. It's a TV series on Amazon Prime, and it's just wonderful. So well written, and such a unique twist on the superhero genre that I haven't seen before. Now, this is a comic book of Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. This was adapted by Eric Kripke for Amazon Prime, and what they do with this premise is just so cool. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Let's talk a little bit about some of the actors, though, that are in it. Carl Urban, who I've always loved from Judge, he did Dredd. He was in Star Trek. He's in Thor Ragnarok. A wonderful actor, and he really gets a chance to just shine and show his chops. Jack Quaid, Meg Ryan, and Dennis Quaid's son. He is perfect in this role. And Anthony Starr from Banshee plays the main superhero Homelander, and Aaron Moriarty, the newcomer superhero that we see, Starlight. So it's interesting because it showcases these characters as if they were living with us. But as you come to find out, the superheroes are almost like overpaid celebrities who only really care about, how much money they're making. Is this crime bust actually going to do? Instead of actually saving people, they're more interested in endorsements and making money off of this, the profit of it. And there's a company called Vought, and Elizabeth Shue is the head of Vought, and she does a great job as well. It's a really unique show. It came out in 2019. The second season was 2020. It's really good stuff, and I'm going to talk about each season hopefully next week and the week after. But I really liked what I saw. It's just really, there's a dirtiness that you don't see in the superhero genre. Homelander is kind of like a take on Superman, except he's a jerk and he's very self-centered. Starlight is the altruistic superhero that you see that wants to do good and is coming into this world and realizing that it's really just about publicity. There's a character that kind of who kind of resembles Wonder Woman. There's a character called Black Noir, who's kind of like a Batman and Rorschach from Watchmen. There's the character that's supposed to be kind of like the Flash. The way that the show starts, you have this character who loses someone because of something that happened that a superhero caused him, and causes him to spin off into this almost quest for revenge. And then you find that there are also these other people who are hoping to bring the superheroes to justice because they know they're dirty. So you got these two different aspects of the world. The world sees superheroes as just these clean, pristine, perfect human beings, these perfect people. And then underneath it all, you see that they are these flawed human beings, and they really don't care about saving the world. They care about themselves. And I keep referencing that, but so it's very similar to the way we see politicians. A lot of us feel politicians could do more, but they're handcuffed and they're more interested in, how does this affect me in the long run, as opposed to what can I do now while I'm in office. I need to keep working so that I can get reelected. It's kind of that dynamic, so it plays off all these interesting things, and I just thought it was a great show. And next week I'll talk about the first season, and after that I'll talk about the second season. So there will be spoilers there. But if you want to see a show that really is interesting, to me it's as interesting as Watchmen was. And Watchmen was such a cool show on HBO. And this falls in the same vein. So I recommend The Boys. Watch it. And next week I will review the first season. And when we come back, I am going to talk about politics. So if you want to switch off now, that is fine. But I am going to talk about it, and I am going to give my take on what I feel should happen. Here's how I feel. I gotta be honest with you. This week has been a frustrating week to watch. To watch how some people are still trying to make it sound like this is just average day politics. They're trying to still not realizing that this is a big deal, and this is a situation that should not just go as, well, that's politics as usual, it's weird. I'm sorry, but the Capitol building was attacked. That's Democrats and Republicans. They were both attacked. And for people to just pretend oh, well, it wasn't this, no. There's no proof of that. I'm tired of these lies, and I'm going to tell you what needs to happen. The honorable thing to do, if Donald Trump really has any honor, resign. Say, I am sorry about this. I did not know it was going to go this way, and I resign. He only has 13 days left. It's not like it's going to ruin his thing, but the more he just stays there and does nothing, it destroys any kind of legacy he had, and it paints him in a light that I don't think he wants to be in. But a police officer was killed. He has not said anything about that police officer. Say something about him. He was killed. We have video of an officer being crushed to death, which is just horrific. I can't. I don't know how people can just turn their head around and say, well, it's probably both. No, it's not. These people are for Trump. These people were led by Trump. He had a rally. He told them, he said, we need to, you got to fight. You got to fight. This will not be done with weakness. What did you think was going to happen by saying that over and over again? Now, something interesting has happened over this weekend. He has been banned from all social media. Not only Facebook and Instagram, but YouTube, as well as Twitter. Twitter, which is bread and butter. He tweets like there is no tomorrow. It's been taken away. It's completely gone. He cannot tweet anymore. Now there's talk of him launching his own platform. Okay. He's not getting the message, though. This is a time for humility and to show he should resign. And it looks like he won't resign. And Mike Pence isn't going to do anything. He's not going to invoke the 25th Amendment, which he should. They're not going to do anything. So the Democrats are forced once again to impeach him again. which is sad because no president has ever been impeached twice. But I don't see what other choice there is. The other option is to just let him get away with it and say, well, he's going to be out of office. That's not how this goes. We were attacked from within. Insurrection. He incited insurrection. He incited an attempted coup. On last Sunday, he tried to call Georgia and tell them to overturn the election. He turned on Pence I don't know when he turned on Pence, but he turned on Pence on Twitter. I mean, these people were coming around with a noose. It's so sad. I mean, now they fired the head of the security there, which is good. He's been forced to resign, and Trump should resign. If he has any ethics, any kind of moral responsibility, he would do that. Nixon would do that. George H.W. Bush would do that. George W. Bush would have done that. Bill Clinton would have done that. Anybody with any integrity would do that. But they would never have let it get to this point to begin with. And now we see in Pennsylvania, there's a guy who doesn't want to step down. They don't want to put the Democrat who won in the Senate. We're in a dangerous time now where if you don't like the results, well, I don't accept them. So that's just the way it's going. That's not the way this goes. You win some, you lose some. And Donald J. Trump, needs to resign and show people that he is presidential. Because the more he's doing, he's out of Twitter. The only way he can really communicate now is through the press. And he hates the press. He's been calling the media the enemy of the people, which harkens back to Hitler. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear people defend him because there's no defense for this. It's over. In 11 days, he'll be gone, but you know what? This should be punished to its full extent, and he should be removed from office. And that's the only way I see it. And if you don't see it that way, I don't know what you're watching. When I watch those horrific events, when I watch this police officer get killed, a woman got killed, it's bad. It's horrible. It's one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. And Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, who just want to do this, point this off as politics as usual, it's not going. This is something we're going to remember for a long time. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. So those are my thoughts. You can disagree with me, but that's what I'm saying. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you my honest thoughts, whether you agree with me or not. And I gave you heads up. If you don't want to hear it, click off now. It's fine. We're still friends. But I'm going to tell you what I think. And Donald Trump should be removed from office or he should resign. And I'm glad that Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are willing to really throw this out. This is the one thing I've seen them actually fight for. And it looks like they are going to fight for this. And McConnell, he was there too. He was in a room with Schumer, hiding for their life. So this should be punished. That's enough about that. So let's move on. Let's see what happens with this week, but it doesn't look good for Mr. Trump. So let's look a little into the positive side here, and let's end with a quote. And here's the quote, and it's from Will Rogers. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Once again, don't let yesterday take up too much of today. And I think what that means is don't focus so much on the past that you forget about the present or the future. Don't look to the past as the be-all, end-all. Because at the end of the day, it is the past. You have your present. See that and move forward. And I think those are words we can look to. Let's not let the past dictate the future, because we can change things. We can make things better. We can always make things better. As long as you're alive, and even if you're not alive, you can make things better. And that's what we should do. Let's make things better. As I have said, I have friends who are Republicans, and I have friends who are Democrats. So I have friends on both sides of the aisle. And I give you my opinion on things. But we can't hate each other because we don't agree with things. And we can't fight each other either. That is not the way. That is so not the way. We need to be kind to one another. I say that many times on here, but I'm going to say it again. Be kind to each other and remember who we are as people. We're Americans. We're people. We're human beings. And if you're listening from another country, we're people. We're human beings. So let's be good people today. Let's be good people tomorrow. Let's be good people as long as we can. I want to thank you for listening. As always, you can reach me at my handle, @JustinYance. And I will see you next time on the DMF. One, two, three, 4, 5. Welcome to the DMF. I'm your host, Justin Yance. This is episode 54, and I'm going to talk about my thoughts on professional wrestling, because this is the wrestling show, and I'm going to be talking about how I feel about pretty much wrestling this week. I'm going to talk about AEW, and I'm going to talk about WWE. So stay tuned.